Hi friends, it's Angela with Wildvioletsart. I'm here again with Marvelous Monday, and I always think Marvelous Monday needs something marvelous about it. I'm sure that for those of you that work, you feel the same way. It's always a hard day. Anyway, today I'm going to show you some more watercoloring techniques. This time I'm going to be showing you one just more backgrounds. We worked on a background last week, but I stamped some images. This time I'm not going to be doing any stamping, and you're thinking, how is this beginner stamping techniques if there's no stamping done? Well, sometimes you don't need to. I stamped the verse and cut it out already, so I'll show you that. But we're going to be just doing some watercoloring today, and it'll be some really pretty backgrounds. So hi, Mary Ellen. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Judy. Appreciate you guys logging on. Okay, so as a reminder, we're using the Dainty Details and so sorry. The Dainty Delights. and I think I put details in there, didn't I? Anyway, it's Dainty Delight bundle. And so it's really a pretty bundle. And I'm just going to show you again a little bit about what I showed you last week. So this bundle is $54.75. And when you purchase this bundle, you can get the free dainty flowers that go with it. So it's really, really a beautiful collection. Well, it's not a collection, but it goes together really beautifully. So as a reminder, this is the Dainty Flowers paper that you can get for free. So pretty. Each paper has two sides, and there's just gorgeous all over the place. These are just some cards I made using the DSP, or the Designer Series paper. This is the stamp set, and then these are the dies. Today I'm using just the dies and then watercoloring a background. So I'll show you a little bit more here in just a second. Okay. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been working with, or the last week, we've been working with the Dainty Details, and we made this background here, and we made this background here. And then I went on to use this one. I had started it, but I didn't finish it. And I layered it with Designer Series paper. Well, tonight, I want to show you how to make really beautiful backgrounds. So these are some more cards that I've been working on this week. Let me get it out of the cellophane. And as you can see, I've watercolored a background here. And then I used the dies from this bundle. I see the little daisy here, and there's a stem, and then there's some little leaves. And then I watercolored them. I'm not going to show you that. I'm primarily going to show you the background, but I layered with those die pieces to get this really pretty card. So as you can see, it's just got some really fun elements to it. And then I also created this one using the same elements as this. So I watercolored the background, and then I added the die cut pieces. So if you look at it, you'll see that it's actually 3D. And that's the thing I love about the dies, is that you, and especially florals, is you can watercolor them and they just turn out stunning. So I'll let you just take a look, and you can see this one in 3D as well. So I don't know if you can see that. Thanks, Marianne. I love this DSP as well. It's just so beautiful. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm going to be using the daisy tonight, but I'll show you some other things as well. Okay. All right, so I have a piece of the watercolor paper, and just as a reminder, this is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper that Stampin' Up! Sells, and it's a really high quality, beautiful watercolor paper, and it takes the color really well, spreads really nicely, which I know it doesn't sound like that makes sense, but actually spreading is really nice. Okay, so we're going to actually use 3 colors on this background. So I'm going to use my Old Olive, And remember, I like to use the ink on the inside. So I just squeeze it and get a little bit of ink. I'm using Daffodil Delight. And then I'm going to use just a tiny touch of the Orchid Oasis because I want just a little touch of sky there. Okay, so I'm going to again use the largest of the 3 water painters, and they are filled with water. These are the other 2 sizes, so you can kind of see the difference. Guess I should get that in the camera. Okay, so let's just use the largest one, and I'm going to put it in water. So I have a little jar of water over here, so it allows me just to wet my cardstock, and I'm going to wet it almost from top to bottom. I'm not going all the way to the edge, but I'm definitely getting close, and I'm allowing this to just get very, very wet so my color spreads. Now I need a little bit of green for the bottom for my grass, and as a reminder, I'm just recreating something like this. And when you don't quite have enough color, you just kind of keep adding a little bit of color, because it's really fun when you're doing watercoloring and then you're putting something on front of it, and you can actually fussy cut the DSP and put it on top. You don't have to do what I did, which is the watercolor of the images. So I'm going to clean my brush, and then I'm come back and I'm going to use some Daffodil Delight. And the reason I'm doing this is because there's flowers in the middle, and it just kind of gives a hint of a continuation of a field of flowers. So, all right, now I'm going to just do a little bit of the Orchid Oasis because I want a hint of sky. And not too scary. And then I can let it combine a little bit at the edges. So I'm going to let this dry here for a second. And then we'll come back and we'll assemble a card. In the meantime, let's create the other background. And I'm using some different colors. So I'm going to use Soft Succulent, and I'm going to use Fresh Freesia, and I'm using the Orchid Oasis again, and I'm going to create this background. Okay, so again, let me get my cardstock. And remember, these come in 5x7s, and I'm just cutting it in half. So I may trim it down a little bit if I need it to be a particular size. All right, so let me make sure that there's nothing. I'm just going to add water again. And I don't know if you can see this, but by the time I'm done, the surface is pretty wet. So let me just see if you can see the wetness of it. So it's pretty wet. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with the green, and I'm going to put the green down here, and I'm going to just go up and down so that it's like it stems. Okay, now I have this really pretty Fresh Freesia flower here, so I'm going to, oops, I need to rinse this off. I'm going to put a little bit of Fresh Freesia over here, just as a background, again, just to kind of give a hint of a continuation of the same color. And it just kind of adds a really nice little background for it. I'm going to add a little bit more green, because actually I don't think the grass is quite green enough. I'm just putting my paintbrush on the pad and adding a little bit of ink that way. So, okay, now I'm going to clean that off. Okay, so now I want to add some of this Orchid Oasis. And this one is, I'm going to add more of it because this is like, I don't know, lupin or lavender. I wasn't quite sure what it was supposed to be, but I'm just adding a little bit more. And then I want something in the sky as well. Just a hint of color. And I'm allowing my colors to bleed a little bit, as you've noticed, because that's okay. And if you don't like something, if you think it's too dark, you can come back and you can use a paper towel, and that kind of eliminates some of the color. But I'm actually going to add a little bit more because I want a hint of this same floral look. And I'm just going to keep adding, just so, like it's a field of lavender or whatever it happens to be. As you can see, it bleeds and it just kind of runs together, but it's so pretty. So, I mean, honestly, this could be a really pretty picture, and you just add a pretty verse because it just kind of gives you a loose feeling of something that that maybe is just a hint of color. Soila. So you made cards with this DSP at your stamp card group. That's great, Mary Ellen. Hi, Zoila. Alrighty, so this is the other background that matches what I did for this card. Okay, so let's go back and let me get, when you're working with watercolor, you're going to notice that your cardstock stays wet for a little while. So what you can do if you're trying to speed things up a little bit is you can use your embossing tool, which is the little heater. Let's see. See if I can drag it over here. Not quite. So you can just dry it with either a hair dryer. I have like a little hair dryer that I used to use for traveling or going to the gym. Or you can use your embossing tool. And I just dry it. So that I can adhere other things to it. And if you dry both sides, then it tends to dry flat better. So it actually flattens out again. Okay. All right, so I've already prepared my little daisy elements, and I'm just going to get them out to show them to you. And what I did is I glued them together. And okay, so I have a little verse. So this I did stamp earlier, and then I die cut it out. And I used the Something Fancy dies. So as you can see, I used this die. Okay. So for this daisy, I used two things, or three things. I used the little daisy die, and then there's little daisy centers. These I colored with Daffodil Delight, and then I used Cajun Craze for the center. And if you take a look at it, what I did is I painted everywhere except for one spot that I kind of wanted to highlight so that it looked like a little bit of sunshine was there. So I glued that onto the top, and I glued one of the stems on as well. And as you can see, there's the stem here. And I cut these all out of watercolor paper so that I could get all the colors. Now you can just use the Daffodil Delight paper, the Cajun Craze paper, add a little bit of the white chalk paint to get your highlights, and you'd get kind of the same results. So, okay. So I've already added my dimensionals to it, and let me just get this as my example. So let's just take a look. I'm going to stick this little guy in the middle. Let's see, I think this one was supposed to be over here. And didn't actually make the same number of the same color, so it'll be close, but it's not going to be exactly. So these are sticking down a little further, and so what I can do is I can just trim off what I don't need, and then I'm just going to add some leaves. And again, these leaves were just die cut and added the same way. I added the little dimensionals on the backs of them. Just place them where I want. Okay. I think before I put anything else on, I'm going to glue this to a piece of the old olive cardstock. Okay. Now I'm going to add, I did forget my So I'm going to show you how I got this really pretty little addition of, it's just like a little bit of a layer of a ribbon. So I'm using the silicone mat, just so you know, just so that it doesn't stick, because I don't want it to stick to my paper, and it's really great for watercoloring as well. So I'm going to use my tear and tape and then wrap it around. Okay, and I'm going to start here and go there, and then I'm going to add a glue dot because I want this to and then here I'm going to make sure it's the right length. Okay. Oh, dimensionals. That's what I forgot as well. I think I'm all prepared, and then I get to my my class items and I realize I'm not. I'm the same way with my classes, and I apologize to them. I just always forget something. So by Sunday I have it all down because my Saturday class is my guinea pig. I don't know if any of you do that. Okay. All right, so instead of doing the full daisy, I'm just going to do the half daisy. And maybe I'll do a leaf down here. Okay, and then I'm not really sure what these are. Do you guys know what these are? These little flowers? They just look like they're, I'm not sure, but I'm just sticking them down here at the bottom. Because what I wanted to use is I wanted to use all the dies and just to kind of see what they look like. And then I'm going to layer this on because I'm using watercolor paper and it's not quite bright white. So it's not like the basic white. It's a little bit of a warmer tone. So I am using the shimmery white, which is also a warmer tone. So I end up having a better look to my cards when I just want them to be like a white basic card. So I'm just going to glue this on. Okay. So it's not quite exactly the same. And then of course, just use a little bit of the brushed brush butterflies, which I just love with these florals. I think they just are so pretty. So cute. Okay, so that's the daisy card. And I don't have the pieces set out for this one, but I just wanted to show you for this card, I used this die right here, which it might supposed to be white, but I didn't make it white. Of course, when you're in charge of the coloring, you get to make it whatever you want. And I paired it with this, which I think is supposed to be like a continuation of this one if they were a bunch of them grouped together. But I went ahead and just put the one in front of the other. So let me see if you can see this. So you can see I kind of just grouped them together so you can see the detail. And when I used the fresh freesia to do some, I use usually a light first, and then I just bring in a little bit of dark and a little bit of dark and a little bit of dark. And for this one, I used this die. And again, I just started with the light, and then I just kind of kept darkening and darkening and adding a little bit more dark in the middle, a little more dark in the middle. So those were those dies. And then I used Evening Evergreen for the greenery here. I used Garden Green for this green, just to give a little bit of variety. And then for this card, I used this long die. Now this background, it was done with a blending pen, and then I watered it and I did a little sprinkles on it. I guess I should take it out so you can see it. So this one, I used this long die here, and then I used this grouping of flowers here and just cut multiples out so that I had enough to add the flowers. This was in petal or polished pink. This is in pear pizzazz. And this right here is the pool party. And I just did a little blender in the middle, and then I layered it with the polished pink and the pool party cardstock. And then this is the new cane weave. I don't remember what the embossing folder is, but anyway, I layered that behind there. So, and then just stamped the verse right on the cardstock. And I did this one in shimmery white because it wasn't being watercolored. So that's all I have for you tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. This was just a way for you to learn how to do some different colored backgrounds. And you can see that even after it dries, it's so pretty. You can add more color until you're satisfied with it. But this will work really great for just layering more of these little flowers on. So, and I pretty much did the same thing. I added a bow. Me and Ribbon, we seem to get along. So I hope you enjoyed tonight, and I look forward to meeting with you again. We'll do on Friday, we'll do the paper pumpkin, the key to my heart for that kit together. And then next Monday, we'll work with these dainty details a little bit more as I prepare for my upcoming class. So as a reminder, the second weekend of every month, I have my free with purchase class, and we're going to be using the dainty details and the dainty flowers DSP. So look forward to seeing you again, and thanks for joining me.